It's a common misconception that drinking 8 glasses of water a day is enough for healthy hydration. But sweat consists of water and sodium, which means you need water plus electrolytes to stay properly hydrated. Thankfully, there are products like Element that have all your electrolyte needs covered. You can try Element Recharge Sample Pack by going to drinkelement.com/speak for only the cost of shipping. Welcome to Speak for Yourself. Marcel Swati, Emmanuel Acho.
My brother.
My man right there. All right, we got to get started with the latest on Richard Sherman. The video has emerged of Sherman trying to force his way into the front door of his wife's parents' house. Sherman was arrested Wednesday, but a judge ordered his release without bail Thursday, and he now faces 5 misdemeanor charges. Sherman is scheduled to be in court today. Sherman tweeted about 30 minutes ago, quote, "I am deeply remorseful for my actions on Tuesday night. I behaved in a manner I am not proud of. I've been dealing with some personal challenges over the last several months, but that is not an excuse for how I acted. The importance of mental and emotional health is extremely real, and I vow to get the help I need. I appreciate all the people who have reached out in support of me and my family, including our community here in Seattle. I am grateful to have such an amazing wife, family, and support system to lean on during this time." So, Acho, what's your reaction to Richard Sherman's arrest?
Firstly, I'm thankful that nobody got hurt. Because if someone got hurt, Marcellus Wiley, this conversation would be entirely different, and how we treated and how we responded to this conversation would be totally different. Because no one got hurt, we're able to identify the fact that there are victims on both sides of the door.
Yes.
There are victims first and foremost inside the door. You have Richard Sherman, who was belligerent, banging on the door. If you haven't seen the video and you have the stomach for it, watch it to have more context of the conversation. So inside the door, you have Richard Sherman's in-laws. I believe his wife was inside, maybe her uncle, some people like that. And they are clearly victims of the trauma, having to witness that and go through that.
Yeah.
Had there been violence, and had violence occurred, because Richard Sherman clearly showed up there with bad intentions, we wouldn't be able to understand now also the victim, who is Richard Sherman. And Richard Sherman is a victim, I would say, of pro sports.
Let's go.
He's a victim of pro sports in that we overlook so many other issues that people have, and the individual overlooks the issue they have themselves because they are a star. They're a celebrity. They are the cream of the crop in something. And so we make that mistake far too often. I watched the movie R.E.S.P.C.T. yesterday. Aretha Franklin movie comes out in August. Phenomenal movie. And Aretha Franklin, one of the greatest artists of her time, maybe of all time. First woman, I believe, inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And if you watch the duration and display of her life, she had severe issues, alcoholism issues, different violence-related issues. But everyone looked beyond that because she could sing.
Yeah.
See, so many athletes, people look beyond their personal struggles, their emotional struggles, their spiritual struggles, their familial struggles, because they can backpedal and they can play ball. But this incident, we got hit in the head with the reality of, wait a second, y'all, there's more to it than just a game. And let me say this, and I'm going to say this to camera, because this is what I remembered most. It's just remember that your occupation is what you do and not who you are. Because if you let your occupation become who you are, then when you no longer do what it is that you do, you will have no idea who you are. And I think that's a reminder I ran into right now. It's like, man, I hope Richard Sherman is not in this dark place, because he is confused his occupation, playing football, for who he is. Because now that he is a free agent at 33 years of age and obviously past his prime, he may be running into an identity complex of who it is that he is. He recently said in this post, "I have been dealing with some personal challenges over the last several months." I don't know what those personal challenges are, but I do know this. The transition from football is incredibly difficult, regardless of how intelligent you are. I've watched it firsthand with my brother. Just transitioned, just signed a TV deal with over at the 4 Letters. My brother's maybe the smartest person I know. I would venture to say probably the smartest athlete to play the game of football over the course of a decade. right? He won the academic Heisman. Now, Marcellus, you went to Columbia.
I mean, I know we're talking a serious subject, but here's some levity.
You did.
You are looking at me while you say that.
I know.
I know, too. You're right. Columbia covers a lot of ills.
He is a genius.
Nah, he's smart.
He's a genius.
I give you some of that.
And even watching him transition, I'm like, yo, it's tough for the smartest person I know, the smartest football player I ever played with, Richard Sherman. We all know how smart he is.
Yeah.
So I'm going to let you take the floor. You got so much more to say, and I'm excited to hear everything you have to say. But those are my early thoughts.
Man, I'm loving the fact that you started us off like this. This is hella deep. And let's just go back to one of our shared favorite adages. I can impress you by talking about my accomplishments, but I can impact you by talking about my scars.
Talk about it.
So I'm going to personalize a lot of Richard Sherman's story, whether it was me personally, what I went through in my athletic endeavors, or those I shared that experience with. I'm glad that you brought up that he's a star, because it's a little different when you're a star. As we all know, stars shine. And there's an incomplete sentence that follows when stars shine, because everyone says, yes, stars shine and it blinds others to the reality. It's incomplete because it also blinds that star as well to their own reality. You don't get to fully address all of your issues. Now, let's compliment him being a star and him being a football player. And none of this is judgment and indictment on anything or anyone I'm talking about, but I'm just going to give you the picture in totality. When you're a football player, emotionally, it dictates to you this: I don't care how you feel, you better go out there and perform. Okay, when you're a football player, you know that there's a switch. You could be a nice, gregarious, sweet, loving mama's boy at home. And then you get into that locker room and it's time to hit that game field, switch, you better turn it on. Be whoever you need to be, maniacal, to go get the task done for 3 hours. Switch, turn it off. Now, sometimes it gets a little tricky with that switch. Not only between game experiences, but between life experiences. You're talking about transition. I actually have a foundation called Project Transition for that very same reason. It's because the transitions occur so often in our life, but we don't take full notice of all of those fork in the road moments. This is a fork in the road moment for Richard Sherman. Let me juxtapose what happened with Richard Sherman, and thankfully this is all that happened, even though this is pretty damning and damaging. Because if he would have got through that door. Okay, so let me personalize this story. I played with Junior Seau, and we all know the late, great Junior Seau. A lot of people know his persona in terms of just always fun-loving, always the guy that would carry the water for everybody. And it's true. That was his persona. His personality matched his persona. And there was something about Junior that was super composed, like next level composed. I always said this, and this is before he passed away, that Junior Seau had the greatest amount of talent I've ever seen with the greatest amount of character. I'd never seen somebody that good in something that they did and that great of a person. I never. And I told all the other Hall of Famers I played with the same. But there was a moment when Junior Seau told us all that he needed help. That star was shining, but it was covering up some issues. It's when he ran his car off the cliff. And everyone, and it was reported, and there's a story, talking about the car plunges off the cliff in Carlsbad. And I remember talking to Junior after that, and everybody, people reported in here, his wife, the mayor, everyone is saying, no, that's not Junior. He fell asleep at the wheel. But that really was, looking back retroactively, a cry for help. This moment for Richard Sherman right now is a cry for help. And there's a lot of elements, and we're just starting peeling back this layer of this onion in terms of all the issues at play. But just on my first lap, I want people to understand that there are some things going on making a cocktail that Richard Sherman needs to diffuse, or else this could get tragic.
So I didn't plan on going here, but a lot of that happens when I talk to you on this show about nuanced topics, because we go places that I don't see other places and networks go, and I don't see other individuals go. When you play a character, it's hard to get out of character.
Hey. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And particularly if you are simply playing a character. Well, a friend of mine, he was the star of the first Purge, my dog, Alon Noel. Okay. He was a star in the first Purge, and if any of y'all have ever seen the Purge series, y'all know what that is. It's just a kind of a violent, gruesome type of thing. And he talked to me. We had sat down for a meal one time, and he told me, he said this, Acho. He said, when I was preparing for that scene, I would take acting classes, but they made me act as a gorilla and a lion and act as an ape. shape, and I would have to act as a beast. Because in the movie, he had to be a beast. I said, well, big dog, how do you ever get out of character? And he said, it's hard, but when I go into the studio, I zip on a character, figuratively. Then in my 45-minute car ride home, I have to spend time zipping that character back off. Otherwise, I will believe I am that character the entire time. Athletes have such a hard time zipping a character on and zipping a character off that most fail to. Most believe they are always that gruesome, violent character. When in all honesty, you have to find a way to differentiate between who you are on the field and who you are off the field. Because on the field, you can be as violent as you want. You can yell as much as you want. You can tackle, you can curse, you can do whatever. You can hit aggressively. But off the field, you now have to become a law-abiding citizen. Because everything that's legal between those 53 1/3 yards and that 100 field length, it's no longer legal as soon as you walk off those parameters. And far too often, not far too often, we don't give enough help to athletes, nor do us athletes help ourselves enough in mastering putting that character on and taking that character off. It's another conversation, maybe for another time, maybe for the end of this conversation, but I'll leave it like this. I think a lot of our greatest athletes are great characters. But the problem is they never come back out of character. So what makes them great on the field limits them from being great, quote unquote, in life and mastering other attributes. What limits athletes from being great on the field is what allows them to thrive in life. The hard part is finding that balance and getting the help you need to find the balance.
Yeah, what you're saying is something I always stress, especially when I talk to the youngsters. They always look at me fully blossomed in their eyes. When you go to elementary school, I mean, it's so funny. You're trying to talk deep to these kids, and all they do is raise their hands and ask the same question. How much money you got? What kind of car do you drive? And I'm like, I'm trying to help you navigate to get to your level of whatever that defines success will look like. But I always talk to them, the first thing you need to acquire in this world is identity. Because once you know identity, two things happen. You know who you want to be, and you know who you don't want to be. So by learning who you are, even though that will be a continuous process of evolution, just starting to properly define who am I versus who I'm not. Help me. I knew I wasn't a gangster. I knew I wasn't a drug dealer. I knew I wasn't a thug. I knew I wasn't all the things that people were kind of circling me with in terms of, well, this is what your uncles are. This is what your family is. And I was like, well, that's not me, because I started to learn identity. So I never was a football player. I played football. I just used football as a means to an end. Now, Richard Sherman, let's just talk about when this incident first occurred to me and really digest it. I know the news hit, but I didn't digest it because Richard and I had this, that's a good dude, man. And it's funny because we always have this competitive, but also parallel path. Compton, Stanford, Columbia, NFL. Then he leaves me. He's just, he's great, I'm good. but our community involvement, we've done a lot of things in the community together. And we always kind of just laugh at it like, damn, he's my little G. I'm the OG, I'm older. And I respected him so much for what he was in terms of accomplishment. And I love the fact that now I'm starting to see deeper and pierce through the layers of not only that greatness, but some of the things that he's dealing with. Let's talk about some of the things he's dealing with. Because he's in a new marriage, relatively speaking. I can relate to that. When you're in a marriage, man, you're talking about, hey, I want to go up this path. And she says, I want to go up that path. Now, we both want to get to the top, but which path are we going to take? And it's just a constant reminder that everything has to be for the benefit of both and the benefit of all. I think that's tough for sometimes human beings, forget athletes. Because you talked about the athlete experience. I want to talk about this as a human experience, and the athletes are the greatest examples of it because we all can see the athletes. Overdose rates, suicide rates, highest, and they've been in a long time. For obvious reasons. People are going through things and people are not finding the proper help. So you talk about a guy with a new wife, young kids, transitioning, coming down the hill. As great as he is, he's coming down that hill, negotiating his own contract. You know what happens when you negotiate your own contract? There's no buffer. There's no good cop, bad cop. You're the only cop. And you got to hear an organization pick you up and drop you down on the same phone call that you're trying to get your transaction done. Richard Sherman is taking on all of these endeavors. He is carrying all of this water. Then there's alcohol involved. Now, everybody knows I love to hydrate. I love a hydration situation, which basically means I like to drink. And why I want to personalize this, because then you see this all come to a head with a crash and dash. I'm not going to lie to anybody. Statute of limitations as well. I did 2 crash and dashes. Yes, I did. One of them is maybe of record. San Diego Chargers know about that, sorry. And there was another one nobody knows about. Point being, it's so crazy, not to these extremes, not to this vivid example, not to that video, but I have lived or I have seen this entire experience culminate before through my experiences. And the craziest thing is, it usually doesn't end with the warning sign that we are privy to having right here. Usually it ends in disaster. And when it ends in disaster, it's too late for that situation. Thankfully, Richard Sherman is still here, and we are in a position that we can actually reach out to him and get him the proper help.
I'll be honest, truth moment. Usually during this show when you're talking, I'm so thinking about what am I going to say next? What am I going to say next? You were 3 minutes in, and I hadn't thought about anything I was going to say because I was listening. So I don't necessarily have some eloquent, thoughtful, provocative response because I was so enthralled and captivated by what you were saying. What comes to mind now is, where do you go from here?
Yes.
And not just for Sherm, for everybody watching this, because learn from, I won't call this Sherm called it a mistake, maybe. He didn't even call it a mistake, actually. He just said he was remorseful for his actions.
Right.
Learn from this shortcoming. I think to my athletes, number one, is understanding that the game doesn't define you. And don't ever let the game define you. Because if the game defines you, then you have to live by other people's definition.
Yes.
Sal, you talked about being your own agent.
Yeah.
My brother said he was his own agent during his 8th to 9th year. He leaves the Chicago Bears after 4 years, Arizona Cardinals 4 years, goes to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But before he ends up on the Bucs, he was acting as his own agent. But I'll personalize it even more so, because I'm obviously extremely close to my brother. When you call those teams, you have to listen to them tell you how sorry you are. And thus they won't sign you. Now, they say it politely, but you have to listen to them tell you about all your shortcomings. And so if you are Sherm acting as your own agent, he's clearly made some calls. And he has to hear them now tell him, a first ballot Hall of Famer, the second best cornerback of this generation to Darrelle Revis, you got to listen to all these people tell you and define who you are. So if you are letting the game of football define you, then whatever they say is now the definition of who you as an athlete are, in this potential instance, who Richard Sherman is. I think the other thing is, an ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure. So let's seek help proactively and preventatively. Right? Let's not wait until we get to an instance or a stance of tragedy striking. Because again, let's all pause and remember, if Sherm is able to get past that door, this is a much different story and a much different headline.
Yes.
From what I've read, he's been charged with 5 misdemeanors. If he's able to get past that door, we're now talking felonies and worse, because now we're also talking about life and death. People are getting hurt. So let's all just make sure we look after one another, take care of ourselves, look after ourselves, and don't let our occupations define us.
Say it again, man. Say it again. I'm going to end with this. Just because of my intimate and respect of connection with Sherman and our friendly competition, I just want to make sure that people understand that it's an exhausting lift to be what Richard Sherman is going through, but what you're going through as well. It's an exhausting lift to be super composed in those moments. And Richard has always tried to be super composed. He's always been the go-to guy to express for all what he's going through and others are going through. I saw that same thing with Junior Seau. It's an exhausting lift to always have to make sure that you keep face no matter what you're dealing with. And I just want to let them know you can drop some of that. You can spill some of that water, and it's fine. You're still going to be an amazing person, because you mentioned something that I think a lot of athletes struggle with when it's time to move on. And Richard Sherman, no matter if he signs or not, he knows that he's been hearing, at least from people, it's time to move on. Think about that. You went from Legion of Boom, you went from Super Bowl champs, you're Richard Sherman. You can't go anywhere where people are not saying you're the man. And then you get on a phone call and someone tells you not necessarily on your terms, you're the man. Then you have your own family issues and strife and things you're going through and your own personal. Then you add alcohol to it, and trust me, everything is going to go to the extreme. I remind everyone that the highlights in life need to be in front of you, not behind you. Athletes especially. I remember when I was leaving the locker room in Jacksonville, 10 years, 10 just sounded like enough for me. I knew I wasn't the same player. I wasn't that good. I knew I still had a few teams call. I knew I still had a few opportunities, but I was like, the highlights are in front of me, not behind me. My teammates pulling at me. Oh, what else you going to do that's better than this? I said, I don't know that answer, but I do know I will find it. And that's what I want a Richard Sherman and anybody in this kind of position to understand. My therapist told me something that brought me to tears when he told me, and it was the simplest thing I ever heard. He said, Marcellus, he heard me. He heard me. Richard, grabbing the next rung. What's the next thing? Acho, I hear it a lot from you. Mr. EGOT, you're going to get 2 E's because we got another Emmy up. EGOT, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And then he looked at me and he heard me. He said, Marcellus, you won. I said, what? He said, you won. You don't have to always just, what's next? What's coming after? You already won. And I think this is his very existence, his very contrition, the fact that he's trying to acknowledge this. You won, Richard. Now, you survived this one. It's time to thrive after this. So hopefully, Richard, you can carry the water that you can, and those in your village can share that experience with you. Coming up, Chris Paul had a rough game for him. Woo. We'll tell you how much we trust him heading into Game 5 tomorrow. But first, Tom Brady played last season with a fully torn MCL. Really? We'll tell you if we're buying that. Uh-oh, Acho, you had a couple of those. That's next. Don't speak for yourself. Getting recommendations from your friends for that perfect diet might be a big waste of time. The real answer is already within you, your genes. What are the best foods based on your DNA? What foods have the nutrients that you need? How quickly do you metabolize caffeine and alcohol? Don't guess. Use the code Speak for Yourself for $20 off a Geno Palette DNA kit. Find out how to eat for your genes.
Tom Brady had off-season knee surgery after his Bucs won the Super Bowl. At the time, he said his surgery was, quote, pretty serious. Now we're hearing just how serious reports say Brady played all last season with a torn MCL in his left knee. And remember, the 7-time Super Bowl champ is 43 years of age. So, Sel, are you buying that Tom Brady played with a fully torn MCL last season?
I'm not buying your expressions right now. I'm not buying the way you articulated it because it doesn't sound like you're buying it, but I'm buying it. I'm putting the card down right now because as I sit here, 46 years young, with a six-pack, as I saw yesterday, photoshopped, I have a partially torn MCL. Yes, I do. Now, the question is, one, could I play football right now on it? No. I'm 46. But if I were Tom Brady, an immobile quarterback, with those, as I call them, Bill Parcells knee braces, because you don't know this story, I got to tell you real quick. I get to Dallas. Now, when I get to Dallas, I'm coming down the hill a little bit, but I'm still high enough where y'all better put some respect on my name. So I get there, and Bill Parcells' first day, he's like, all linemen wear knee braces. And I was like, yeah, they do. Not me. He looked at me like, all linemen. I had to put on this Bill Parcells knee brace. Now, you watch Tom Brady play.
Don Joy? Huh? What was it? Was it the clunky Don?
Man, it was that old 88 Notre Dame one. I was like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
I blame my bad season on that. All right, anyway, but I'm not immobile like Tom Brady. I don't have a strict schedule in terms of physical movement. Tom Brady's 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Like, Tom Brady ain't, other than that, I'm ducking down, Peyton Manning style sack. Nothing else. So I'm thinking, in his schedule of movement, and it's so strict, and I already have that partially torn MCL, and I can still get after it. They tell me right now, strengthen your buttocks, strengthen your hips. And I'm like, my knee hurt. So that lets me know that MCL is kind of like tonsils. Like, you need them until you don't. Appendix, it's a convenience, but not a, necessary. Not necessary to have. So I'm looking at this situation. Now you look at how he played. Yeah, he could do it because he did it. He won the Super Bowl with a partially torn MCL. But I'm listening to you without saying anything that I think you don't agree with.
So what do the kids say? Kids say, there's too much cap on this app. Because, boy, Tom Brady or his team is lying. God, it's impossible to play with a fully torn MCL. I wasn't good at a lot in the NFL. I promise you all I was not good at a lot, but I was phenomenal at getting hurt. I was great at getting hurt. Right. In 4 years college and 4 years pro, that's 8 years, I got hurt 7 out of 8 times.
Damn.
I tore my meniscus. Okay. I had a sports hernia. I tore my MCL, second degree. We'll get to that later. I tore my quad at the combine. I tore my MCL fully, third degree, what Tom Brady's claiming he did my rookie season. I tore my groin in the league, then I broke my thumb. 7 times, 8 years hurt. I promise y'all, I could have gone pro in getting hurt had I not gone pro in the NFL. So with that being said, I know what it's like to tear your MCL in every which way. I'm going to try to give y'all an example, but it's going to be hard to do in this suit. The MCL is what keeps the knee from going in and out, not forward and back, but rather in and out.
Yes.
If you tear your MCL, it's like a door without a hinge. It just swings open and closed. Just talking about it brings me to tears and pain because I remember the feeling. Now, I had to wear the knee brace. My junior year at Texas, I tore my MCL against Nebraska. I get cut from a tight end coming inside out. He dives at my knee, boom, hits my knee, boom, torn MCL.
The door, off the hinge.
Terrible. I finished the game. I was able to play with a second-degree tear in my MCL. I was also concussed that game. That probably helped. I finished the game, but I couldn't play the next week because of swelling. Now, I played the rest of that season with a knee brace on a second-degree torn MCL.
How many games?
8. I got hurt
8 more?
4. 8 more. But every time I got hit, Sel, I fell on the ground and would have to like scratch and claw up because the pain was so insufferable. I would have to go out for a play or two until the pain subsided, come back in. I vividly remember against Texas A&M on the ground and just scratching and clawing at dirt. I was in so much pain. Okay, move on. NFL, rookie year. Fully tear my MCL. This is how I know Tom Brady.
What do you mean fully? You did before. It was just grade
second,
2.
grade 2. So first degree, second degree, third degree. Third degree is completely, it's gone.
It's gone. Okay.
It's gone. Tom Brady's claiming, or at least people are claiming, third degree is gone. You can't play with that.
Why?
If it's gone,
why?
It's gone. Okay, so
Don't repeat what you just said. Why?
I tear mine against the Packers in a preseason game.
Aaron Rodgers?
I had to do.
Whooped your
No, it couldn't have been Rodgers because I was a third stringer back then. So who knows? Maybe Brett Hundley. I tear mine and I have to do a middle run through cover 2 drop. So I don't know it's completely torn. I do a little drop there. I'm trying to make the teams. I'm backpedaling. I try to break. I go to the sideline. They're like, if you hurt, you hurt. They find out the MRI completely torn, somebody on the bench. Why? Because if your MCL is completely torn, 1, it's incredibly stiff because of the swelling. 2, you literally have a door without a hinge as a knee. So your knee just can't do anything. If you get hit there, Sel, the pain.
Okay.
Lay in bed and let your toe hit the lay in bed and let your toe hit the stand of the bed to where your knee is locked and then the toe. Excruciating.
I broke my pinky toe twice like that.
Tom Brady could not be playing with a fully torn MCL, but the last reason we know that he's more than likely lying, look it up if you want to. Look it up.
Oh, my God.
The MCL heals itself off blood flow.
Yes, that's why they told me not to get surgery.
So you don't have to have surgery on a torn MCL.
Well,
unless
there you go.
either didn't do it by itself, you did something else, maybe a meniscus that had to get scoped, or it's one extremely rare, unique case. But I fully tore it and I second degree tore it, and neither time did I need surgery. And typically, you don't need surgery for an MCL because it heals itself.
No, but
things don't add up.
Okay, it does add up. You actually made my case stronger than I made my case. 1, you said you don't get a surgery unless. The unless is also by
the unless?
By severity calendar. Like, you want to speed up the process of recovery.
Okay.
Athletes all the time in the middle of a series, hey, I got a torn.
Why would he need to speed it up?
Because right now, this is Tom Brady at his speed, at his age. His age speed of recovery is a lot slower than before. And look, I already went through maybe 2 years of partially torn and torn MCL. Let's just get through this. Because I used to always opt in for surgery. Cats, they come to you all the time. They say, here's your epidural, and we're going to prolong this, and we're going to rehab this for 6 weeks. And I'm like, or surgery and I'm back in 4? I'm back in 4. I don't want to hear it. So 1, by calendar, it's on Tom Brady's side. I don't think he's lying. 2, you said it's incredibly stiff.
Yeah.
That's okay with a knee brace. Have you ever seen Tom Brady run? He's incredibly stiff.
That's true. That's true.
That actually is how you describe how he runs. I wonder why. Because he has an MCL that's torn.
No.
That's part 2. So far, strong case, Tom Brady, TB12. You're not even on the TB12 method. That's why you look like that and couldn't play through this. And number 3, pain threshold. Admit this. We all have different levels. I'm not going to make...
We do. Can I jump in now or later? I'll wait. I just
later.
Double dutch me.
Later.
Double dutch.
Jump in. You ain't going to do me like you always do, Slick Rick. Slick. Finish. All right. Finish. Pain threshold. I don't know what yours was.
High.
Everyone always says high.
I have examples.
But high is relative. It depends on what else is going on. I know I had a high one as well, but I haven't documented why it was high. But there's other guys who have higher pain thresholds. I'm not going to sit here and testify to the pain threshold level of Tom Brady. Neither will you. But if you're talking about a limited, incredibly stiff quarterback who only has to run 5 steps per play versus a linebacker who was fighting for his NFL life, going around in cover 3, man, it's a whole different animal. So I am so far ruling with Tom Brady.
I have receipts, sir.
Okay, let's
here's
go.
how I knew my pain threshold was high, and thankfully Google keeps receipts as well. Scott Paxson. Scott, spelled traditionally Paxson, P-A-X-S-O-N. He was also on the Browns with me, defensive tackle. He gets hurt in the middle of a game. He's grabbing, he's clutching at his knee. Google his name. It is the first picture that comes up. He's clutching at his knee, clutching at his knee. I was like, yo, he must have freaking torn his ACL, torn everything, da-da-da-da-da. Turned out he just tore his MCL. I'm like, wait a second. Same MCL I tore and finished a game against Nebraska, or completely blew my MCL out and did a whole cover 2 drop. Later on in my career, I'm playing for the Eagles. Linebacker Jake Knott. He gets hurt in practice, starts crying. Oh, God, oh, my God, oh, my God. We stopped the practice. We got to move. I'm like, yo, he tore his ACL, MCL, PCL, dislocated his knee. He must have done it all. Turned out he just had a 2nd-degree MCL tear. So I'm sitting here like, wait a second. I done torn my MCL partially and played the rest of the game, fully and played another play, and these 2 cats, one had to get like carted off and the other crying like his life just ended. So I know I got a high threshold.
Okay.
Again, I was not great at a lot, but I was great at getting hurt.
Okay.
I'm better than Tom Brady getting hurt.
But you ain't greater than me getting hurt. You ready? I had a non-contact back surgery before I even started. Then came back the next year in practice, week 1. We haven't even played a game yet. Broke my foot. Next year, come back sports hernia injury. Same injury that Julius Peppers and Dalvin McNabb had.
You're 3.
Yeah. But hold on. But they missed the whole year, or like most of the year. I'm in
7 still. You're 3.
Okay. Then shoulder.
Okay, 4.
Total reconstruction.
Yep.
The rest is after. I'm sorry. Here we go. Here's the thing I want to highlight to our fans out there, our viewers out there, because I hate when this happens. You see an athlete go down, and everyone's seeing him crying. He's fighting back the tears. He grabs the towel. He lays down, puts the hand up. I'm okay. What you're seeing in terms of tears and those emotions is not just pain.
It's not pain. Yep.
It's opportunity lost.
That's true.
Because every athlete in that moment, the first thing you think about is, damn it, I got to go back to the bottom of this hill and climb back up. Meanwhile, someone lesser than me continues to just climb, and they will always have that advantage. You will never get to catch up to that pace when you're down in that moment. So don't act like Scott Paxson and Jake Knott, nah, those financial advisors right now, those dudes were hurt because of opportunity loss.
Here is what I think this is, and this came to me as you were speaking.
Yes.
Tom Brady realizes he needs a flu game moment.
Oh, don't do that.
And I think Tom Brady's giving himself this flu game season. No, because the tuck rule wasn't overcoming and defying an inhibitor physically.
Okay, I get what you're saying.
Like Michael Jordan was sick, flu, sweating, didn't eat the night before. Turned out it was just some pizza. Right? But Tom Brady now, he just triumphed over a completely torn MCL at 43 years of age to win a Super Bowl. All this is legacy building. He don't even need to build his legacy, greatest of all time. But that's all this is, Sel. He's trying to make sure that the myth, it outweighs the greatness. And the greatness really can't get no greater.
I'm not mad at that part. You kind of buttoned it up there, but verdict in. Case dismissed. Tom Brady's still the greatest. 7 Super Bowls tells us as much. Coming up, how much do we trust Chris Paul in tomorrow's Game 5 after a disappointing Game 4? We'll answer that next on Speak For Yourself. Really don't matter?
No way.
Oh, stop. Tonight, the long-anticipated wait is over. The fans return to SmackDown on Fox. Superstars of WWE will finally get a chance to hear the roar of the crowd for the first time in a year and a half. Live from the Toyota Center in Houston, it's Friday Night SmackDown, 8 Eastern on Fox. I'm going to get that job. Watch. The NBA Finals are tied 2-2 after the Suns took the L in Game 4. Chris Paul had his worst offensive output since the first round for only 10 points. He also added 5 turnovers. The next matchup is tomorrow, and CP3 is 8-11 in his career in Game 5s. Got to bring in Fox NBA analyst Chris Broussard. But Acho, how much do you trust Chris Paul heading into Game 5?
Man, I don't trust Chris Paul at all, fellas. And it's not that it's the Chris Paul I don't trust, but it's his ailing body that I don't trust. The mind is willing, Broussard, but the flesh is weak. I don't. The mind for Chris Paul, we all know is willing, y'all, but the flesh, 41 points, closeout game against the Clippers. The flesh, 32 points, game 1 against the Bucs. The flesh, 23 points, game 2 against the Bucs. The flesh, 19 points, game 3 against the Bucs. The flesh, 10 points, game 4 against the Bucs. Chris Paul's mind is willing, but his flesh is weak. So I can't trust it because I think we have seen the best days of Chris Paul in this playoffs behind us. He's deteriorating statistically. I don't think mentally he's all the way there. Mentally, he's sharp. But physically, the ball leaving his hands, his body collapsing on the floor, turnovers. 15 turnovers over a 3-game stretch. We haven't seen that in his playoff run ever. We haven't seen that in the regular season run from him for 3 years. Chris Paul, the great point guard. Chris Paul, top 5 player of all, point guard of all time, to be debated later. But Chris Paul, his flesh, y'all, is weak. So I trust the mind of Chris Paul. But when you ask me how much do I trust Chris Paul in totality heading into Game 5, can't do it, won't do it, can't win with it.
Acho, I'm sorry that you bought into this. Look, weren't we just hearing this a few weeks ago?
Yes.
Oh, they're 2-0 against the Clippers without Chris Paul, who's in COVID. Leave him on the bench. They lost the first 2 games. Chris came in campaign speed. His aggressiveness at the rim was really giving the Clippers problems. They're better without Chris and better with Cam. We heard all that. And then you just highlighted the 41-point game by Chris Paul to silence all the naysayers. Chris Paul is not done. He is not old. I have faith in him. Acho, he was horrible in Game 4. I will give you that. But do you know what his stats are for this series? 21 points, 8.3 assists a game on 52% shooting. I mean, that's bowling. He had one horrible game. I get it, the turnovers. Games 2 and 3, he still had a lot of turnovers. But he was giving you 23 and 8, I think, in Game 2, 19 and 9 in Game 3. He still was playing fairly well. So he will have a bounce-back game. There's all this talk about Drew. Drew Holiday has shut Chris Paul down. Drew Holiday has figured out the point guard. I beg to differ. Because against Drew Holiday, Chris Paul is shooting 78%. I didn't stutter. 14 for 18 field goals against Drew Holiday. He has 9 assists in the 22 minutes Drew Holiday has guarded him. Here's the issue. He has turned the ball over 7 times in those 22 minutes. That's the same amount as the 99 minutes that all the other players have guarded him. So I get you with that. But Chris Paul is one of the smartest, most sure-handed point guards we've ever seen. So I do believe in Chris, and I think he's going to go out of his way to make sure he is not tossing the ball all over the place. He has a big bounce-back game, 22 points, 8 or 9 dimes in a W.
8 or 9.
Here's the thing,
96, huh? 9 dimes, baby.
It's easy to bounce back from 10 points, big dog, so I would hope he can have some sort of a bounce-back game, but that's not much of a bounce back because the stat line you just gave me would be his 3rd best out of 5 games so far if he has 22 and 8 or 9. Just FYI. But, Broussard, I think what you're overlooking, because you're looking at everything right, but what you're overlooking is the fact that CP has played his 3rd most games thus far of his career, Broussard, in this season. 16-year career, illustrious career. He played his 1st most games in a season. That was 94 games. He played, I believe it was in 2016. He got hurt in that playoff run. A hamstring. If you're a Clippers fan, you will remember that. He played his 1st most games in the 2007 and 8 season. That's 92 games. That was his 2nd most game against the Hornets. He was 23 years of age at the time. Broussard is a 36-year-old man, which Chris Paul is, playing 88 games thus far, the 3rd most he's ever played. It's only common sense that his body's wearing down. It's not as though this is an outlier. This is now the norm. He's playing so much that the fatigue is setting in. So if this was an outlier and we just saw one bad game, I'd be like, oh, okay, bet. But we are seeing a 5-game sample size, a 5-game trajectory, and I guess it's not a trajectory. What's the antonym for trajectory, because he's going lower? A 5-game decline. This isn't an outlier. This is a norm, fellas.
Man, I thought Acho was a rider. You ain't no rider, homie. You couldn't hang with me, big dog, in the real world. Because you ain't no rider. And you don't want to ride the roller coaster of what Chris Paul is out there. Yeah, you a hater. What's the opposite of hater? Acho is the same as a hater. So I'm going to talk about Mr. Emmanuel Hurt Pro, Acho, who wants to go out there and talk about Chris Paul after one bad performance in these finals. Let me remind you, he was averaging 25 points per game in the finals coming into Game 4. Let me just remind you that his plus-minus in the postseason is plus 88 in Phoenix and minus 12 on the road. Guess what? They're playing Game 5 in Phoenix. You better trust this dude. But let me tell you why Acho's not a rider. Because he doesn't respect the resume, the equity of Chris Paul. It always ends in greatness, kind of like the stock market. It goes up, it goes down. It goes up, goes down, but it continues to rise. That's who Chris Paul's been this postseason. Must I remind you, in the Lakers series, Chris Paul wasn't Chris Paul. It was pretty bad. Remember that, Acho? Nah, keep your face up there. 9 points per game, only 7 assists. Shooting 39% from the field. Yuck. 20% from the three-point line. Acho came out here hot-taking. Oh, where Chris Paul at against my Lakers? I love me LeBron. Where Chris Paul at? Did he rebound? Yes, he did. Ask Denver. 26 points a game, 10 assists. Oh, so then Acho, he quiet again. Laker fan, he quiet in and Cancun because the Lakers are gone. And then the Clippers series, Game 1 and Game 2, without Chris Paul, they look amazing, the Phoenix Suns. He comes back Games 3 and Games 4, 16 points a game, 9 assists. Here go hot take Acho. Hey, Chris Paul, he ain't no good. And what happened in Game 5 and Game 6? Don't make me cry up here. 32 points a game, 8 assists, and shooting 56 from the field, 50% from 3. Now we're back in this same position again. Acho, are you a rider or not? You gonna ride these waves with Chris Paul to greatness, or are you gonna hot take your way to failure? Come on,
your revisionist history is astute.
It is
like
great.
The way that he has rewritten the history. Here's the thing, Sel. Here's the thing, CB. I never said that Chris Paul, the Suns were better off without him, unlike you last series. That was not my take. Broussard, I haven't said this series that the Suns should bench Chris Paul in exchange for campaign. That is not my take. My take is very simple. Chris Paul statistically is declining, and this is not a one-game sample size. Sel, you said that Broussard, you said that Chris Paul has had one bad game. Y'all both have agreed upon that. Bad is relative. Good is relative in life and in sports. So for somebody to have 23 points and 6 turnovers might be a great night. Be a phenomenal night for me. Be the best night of my life if I were to do that in the NBA. Yeah. But for Chris Paul, it's a bad night. 6 turnovers, can't do it. Chris Paul, the next game, having 4 turnovers. You can't do it. Chris Paul having as many turnovers in Game 4, 5, as the entirety of the Bucs roster, 5. That is an atrocious night. So bad is in perspective. Chris Paul has set the bar high. He has been bad the last 3 games. I'm just bringing it to light.
Wow.
Well, I beg to differ. He was not bad in Game 2. He had 23 and 8, and they won. And fairly, by a nice little comfortable margin,
6 turnovers.
So how can I hate on that?
Broussard,
and here's the other. You get some turnovers. I mean, guess who's the all-time leader in turnovers? LeBron James. I mean, it happens. All right, it don't usually happen to Chris Paul. But here's the thing. You talked about the decline. We got a 5-game sample. You talk about revisionist history. Well, first off, 5 games ago, he scored 41.
Hello.
You knew he was going to decline from that, all right? Then he scores 32. So that's part of your argument. He declined. From 41 to 32. 32 is huge for Chris Paul. Then 23. Chris Paul is a career 18-9 guy. So even 23 was above his career average. He's had seasons he averaged 16 points a game and still, this year, 16 and 8, and he was balling. So you can't just look at his points and say, oh, he's declining, he's struggling. Look, Chris Paul is 2 games away, y'all, from major boost for his legacy. All right, he's been through a stinger, a bad shoulder. He's been through COVID protocol. He is not about to let himself be the reason they lose this series when he's this close to a championship. And Chris, I trust.
And in Chris, I trust, as in Broussard and Paul, because, boy, you nailed that right there. Acho, since you want to talk about revisionist history, okay, I won't go all the way back to your Lakers series. I won't even go all the way back to the Denver series. But since then, CP3 has averaged 24 points a game and 8 assists, shooting 50 from the field, a guard, and 44 from 3. And you talking about you don't trust that? That is enough of a resume and sample size to say, even with the 10-point blip, even with the 5 turnovers or 6 turnovers, he will return to norm, law of averages. And it's a new norm. And it's a higher norm than his average. Because as Chris Broussard pointed out, 18-9 guys out there giving you 24 and 8. Oh, Chris Paul is going to go back to Phoenix and do what he does in Phoenix. Win. Coming up, Aaron Rodgers is still a Packer. For now, we'll tell you the best case scenario for the reigning MVP. That's next. Don't speak for yourself. Adam Schefter said he believes Aaron Rodgers will not return to the Packers without modifications to his contract, but not in the form of money. Schefter said to get Rodgers to training camp, there has to be, quote, some sort of stipulation that makes it clear that the Packers will trade him after the season. So, Acho, what's the best case scenario for Aaron Rodgers?
Best case scenario for Aaron Rodgers is to end up anywhere else.
Then Green Bay.
Anywhere else. Why? Because if you're going to be, best case scenario for Aaron Rodgers is to be happy. Now, the fun is in winning. My coach always told me that. Don't ever forget nothing else. The fun is in winning.
And getting paid, coach. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but if you win and you get... But you can't dictate like money, right?
I can't dictate wins either.
Exactly.
So
but
I dictate
fun.
If I ball, I'm getting some money.
But if you bread it up and you lose...
I'm not trying to interrupt you. I'm just telling Coach that he need to add
he said this in college.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he said it in college.
He had to get y'all money under the table. That's why he had to say that. University of Texas. A little different over there.
That did not happen.
No, that ain't happen. Boy, stop.
Anyway, look.
Let's go somewhere.
The fun is in winning. Now, if Aaron Rodgers isn't going to win a Super Bowl in Green Bay, and if you Aaron Rodgers at this point, you got to figure you're not going to win one in Green Bay.
Really?
Here's why, Sel. Wow. NFC Championship twice, y'all ain't win. You've been to Super Bowl once in your 13 years as a starter. You've been to Super Bowl once in your 16 years as a Packer. Since you've been to the Super Bowl, all quarterbacks that are equivalent to you in talent or better have gone multiple times. Peyton Manning, gone multiple times. Russell Wilson, gone multiple times. Tom Brady, gone multiple times. Patrick Mahomes, gone multiple times. So clearly it's not for lack of quarterbacks this talented should go multiple times to the Super Bowl. Aaron Rodgers meets that threshold. He's not going multiple times. Got to look. It's the organization's fault. So if you're not going to win the Super Bowl, you might as well be happy playing ball. Aaron Rodgers isn't going to be happy in Green Bay because he hasn't been happy in Green Bay. So what's the best case scenario for Aaron Rodgers? Go at least have fun not winning the Super Bowl because you're not having fun not winning the Super Bowl right now. So go have fun losing. Go have fun falling short. But don't lose and not have fun. At least have fun doing it.
Oh, man. Look, Aaron Rodgers needs to do what everyone knows what he needs to do, which is go back to Green Bay begging for forgiveness. Please, please, some oldies like some James Brown all the way Marvin Gaye. Please, please. I know you don't drink, but I know you got some homeboys that got some stories and they got some issues going on. And since you don't drink, they probably really come to you because they could get faded around you and they got them a designated driver. But Aaron Rodgers is still the guy at the bar that I'm listening to like, Aaron, face the music because everyone else hears it. You're the last one to dance to it. Take your butt home, tuck that tail, and just say, I'm sorry, I messed up. And that's where you're going to go. Home, Green Bay. Home is where the heart is, and that's where your happiness is because you don't need anything to be happy except to choose to be happy. So everyone thinks happiness is external. No, it's just a mental choice. You could be on a sorry team and happy. You know why? Because I gave it my all, and we're giving it our all. You could be on a great team and unhappy. Sounds like Aaron Rodgers because his team is top 4 the last 2 years. Still ain't happy. What you going to be happy with if you win it all? I don't know, because you already won it all and you ain't happy. So when you going to be happy, Aaron Rodgers? I'm going to tell you, you don't need anything to be happy except to choose it. Aaron, choose it take your butt home. I'm tired of being at this bar. It's 2:30 in the morning. The bartender like, hey, Wiley, is Aaron ready? I'm like, the chairs are upside down on the tables. It's time to go home. Face the music, Aaron Rodgers, because you talking about, I don't know if he's ever going to win a Super Bowl again. You know John Elway didn't win a Super Bowl to his last 2 years, despite going to the Super Bowl before and failing. Aaron Rodgers, at least you have one in tow. Now, who's better in all-time history? John Elway, Aaron Rodgers? That's the topic for another day. But happiness? Oh, that's a choice. Too bad he wants to choose elsewhere instead of in here. Got to bring in Fox NFL analyst Bucky Brooks. So, Bucky, what's the best-case scenario for Aaron Rodgers? Please.
I mean, look, the best-case scenario for Aaron Rodgers is for him to make a formal apology for all the Packers fans for all of this soap opera stuff that he has done throughout the offseason. He had no leverage in the beginning. We've talked about it multiple times up here. The only thing that Aaron Rodgers could hope for is that the Green Bay Packers would cave to public pressure. They didn't. And so now he has to tuck his tail between his legs, find a way to get back to the huddle so the team can respect him. Because this is a case study in leadership. And if the Packers modify the contract, make addendums and amendments to say, oh, we're going to trade you, how could they ever, in that locker room, look to Aaron Rodgers if he's the leader of the team when he has 1 foot out the door? They cannot bend, they cannot yield, because if they do that, they are going to torpedo any chance that they have of a Super Bowl. The Green Bay Packers have to hold firm. Aaron Rodgers has to be the one to cave because he is the only one that can make this situation right, not the other way around.
Here's a problem, though, Bucky Brooks. Here's a problem, Marcellus Wiley. Why does Aaron Rodgers need to apologize to anybody, yo?
Wrong.
Aaron Rodgers is the only reason the Packers have a Super Bowl since the turn of the century. What you mean? Aaron Rodgers is the only reason.
Only reason?
Yes, because without Aaron Rodgers, what happened? What the Packers do when Aaron Rodgers don't play? What the Packers do when Aaron Rodgers plays? Aaron Rodgers, Davante Adams is about to get paid. Davante Adams is a beast. You want to know what helps Davante Adams be beastly? Aaron Jones getting top 5 money at the running back position. You want to know why? Because the boxes are light. You want to know why? Because you got a quarterback in Aaron Rodgers back there. Aaron Rodgers owes no one an apology. The only person owed is Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers has kept the Packers from being the Cowboys. Let's be real.
Oh, really?
A historically great organization that hadn't won nothing in the last long bit. The difference between the Packers and the Cowboys, both incredibly historical organizations, but one franchise is still atop and one franchise is scratching and clawing. Only because of Aaron Rodgers. Otherwise, the Packers would just be like, oh, yeah, I remember those days, those Brett Favre days. Yeah, man, those Vince Lombardi days. I remember those good old days. But instead, the good old days are still just last year and the year before. You have a reigning MVP. He don't need to apologize to nobody. Y'all need to respect Aaron Rodgers, and the reason he's doing what he's doing is because of the likes of Bucky Brooks, because of the like of Marcellus Wiley, who thinks he needs to apologize. It's not the case, people.
Oh, look, he's wrong. And Aaron Rodgers is going to learn that sometimes when you're wrong, you just got to call a spade a spade. Hey, man, I'm wrong. I tried to do this, and it didn't go my way. So you can talk about Aaron Rodgers being at the MVP level. Last year when he played at the MVP level, they were 13-3. The season before, he had one of the worst years of his career. They were 13-3. So I don't see any change whether he plays great or whether he doesn't play great. The Green Bay Packers are always there. And, oh, by the way, since we're absolving Aaron Rodgers from any responsibility for the Packers not getting to the Super Bowl, I just happen to notice that he's 1-4 in NFC Championship games. We don't give Donovan McNabb that pass when they didn't get over the hump. I don't know why we're treating Aaron Rodgers with kid gloves. At some point, when you're the quarterback, you're measured by the fact of, can you get your team to the Super Bowl and win it? We can't keep throwing him out there like, hey, he's one of the greatest that ever played if his team doesn't get there. He's had more than enough opportunities to get his team over the threshold. He hasn't got it done. So I'm not asking him to apologize for his shortcomings on the field. I'm simply asking him to apologize for taking us through this soap opera that was unnecessary when he didn't have any leverage at all.
Yeah, I'm with you, Bucky. Man, look, I'm being objective up here. I'm just calling it like I see it. And it would be a horrible precedent if you were the Green Bay Packers to say, okay, come back, and you know what we're going to do? Make an addendum to your contract and play this year, lame duck, and we're going to trade you away. Oh, guess what? Next great player, Davante Adams. Next great player, Aaron Jones, whatever. Next time your contract's up, we'll do the same for you. And then it's just going to continue to snowball. Horrible precedent to set. So sorry, Aaron Rodgers, you're just going to play status quo like everyone else, despite being Aaron Rodgers the Great. Now let's talk about where Aaron Rodgers does fall short, even though he is so talented, so great. But the difference between him and Tom Brady is this. Tom Brady respects complimentary football more so than Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers wants us to get blinded by his star and his greatness and his shine by saying he did his part, he won the MVP. True. But you know what also is true? When Aaron Rodgers won the Super Bowl, that's when they were going through the stretch of having those great defenses. Remember, they were second in points that year and fifth in yards when they won that Super Bowl the year before. Seventh in points, second in yards. Then you get the Super Bowl championship. It's not just about your offensive production is what I'm highlighting. It's about playing complimentary football. I give it to you like this. Remember last year we were watching the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 7-5, were they? And they go into the bye week and everybody's like, man, what's going on with Tampa Bay? They barely above 500. And Tom Brady and Bruce Arians had a deep conversation about complimentary football, something that Brady had learned from Belichick. Set your defense up. Put them in great positions. Let them go out there and have the best opportunity to succeed. You know what that turned into? Tom Brady not losing another game after that point. It came back to play calling. I'll take a little off of mine to give some to them. I don't see that with Aaron Rodgers because, as Bucky pointed out, in terms of leadership, he's not thinking about everybody else. He's thinking about how he gets his. Well, you got yours, Aaron. But the problem is you guys won't get over the hump until you ensure, as a leader, everyone gets theirs.
No, wait. You're not putting this on Aaron Rodgers that they're not getting over the hump. That's not what I heard, Bucky.
Oh, absolutely.
Y'all crazy.
Okay, I'm crazy.
No.
Y'all real.
How does he get beat constantly by somebody less talented than him?
Y'all are the type. What was that Passenger song? You only need the light when you only need the light when it's burning low. You only hate the something when it starts. You only hate the something when it starts to snow. Y'all the types that don't realize what you got until it's gone. Both of y'all, you and you can't tell on screen, but I'm pointing to both of them. Honestly, just don't tell them. Y'all don't realize what you got. The only reason the Packers are worth the words coming out of our mouth is because of Aaron Rodgers. Y'all remember what happened when Rodgers got hurt? They won 6 games. I think I played against them that year. It might have been 2013 or 2014. They were terrible.
I get that.
So we're not going to act like Aaron Rodgers is keeping them from getting over the hump. The only reason they are in the conversation is because of Aaron Rodgers.
That's true. But what also is true is why you can't get over the hump is because it's not a complimentary football mindset. And that's not just on the field. It's off the field.
Maybe only off. Because Aaron Jones is a top 5 running back. The Packers actually play complimentary football. You know this, though. I did full screens after full screens after full screens on this.
It's not intra-offense. Hey, our receivers top 5. Our running backs top 5. It's what are you doing for the defense?
Yes. Okay, let's go there.
Come on.
The first 4 weeks of the season, the Packers defense was just as bad as the Cowboys defense. Actually, it was worse. The Packers had the worst defense in the NFL based upon how many yards they were giving up per play. Why were the Packers undefeated and the Cowboys 1-3 after 4 games? Because the Packers were second in the NFL in time of possession, meaning we are not going to let Aaron Rodgers ball as much. We are going to play complimentary football, hide our defense until we figure it out. We're going to possess the ball. The Cowboys, on the other hand, were the worst in time of possession, meaning, hey, Dak, just go out there and try to light it up. We're not going to hold the ball very often, meaning our defense is going to be on the field a lot more, meaning they're going to give up a lot more points. Aaron Rodgers, even to his demise, said, you know what? We'll just sit here and run the ball, hold on to the ball so that our defense can be protected. Aaron Rodgers, more than anyone this season, played complimentary football, still won the MVP, and y'all still sound ungrateful.
Man, I'm going to give it to you like this in facts and stats because I don't want to get into some conjecture. I think Aaron Rodgers is amazing, but you can get me to the hump but can't get me over the hump. Let's talk about the Packers. One of 4 teams to have a top 10 total offense and top 10 total defense. The Super Bowl champion Bucs. That's called complimentary football. But I'm about to show you, Acho, it doesn't always end well. The Colts and the Chargers. Interesting. So now that takes me to what I was saying. Their defense right now is 9th ranked, 7th in the passing game. You got to respect that if you're Aaron Rodgers and lean into that instead of lean out of it and say, hey, it's about me. And since you want to say Aaron Rodgers is not the reason, now I got to do my job. What is Aaron Rodgers in championship games? What's his record? 1-4. Okay. How many touchdowns? 9. How many interceptions? 8. What's his quarterback rating? 83. Man, get off the screen.
No.
You got something else to say?
No.
Aaron Rodgers, you found your newest agent.
Sale, you also know Aaron Rodgers, how many points per game does his defense give up in championship
games? He don't lean into complimentary football. I think 36. Coming up, Team USA is hitting major roadblocks. They're making me go, dog. On their way to the Tokyo Olympics. We'll tell you if it's already panic time. That's next. Don't speak for yourself. He's throwing them grenades up. Shoot, defense like, man, damn.
The obstacles on their way to the Olympics in Tokyo. Bradley Beal had to leave the team after entering health and safety protocols. Now Kevin Love is withdrawing due to a calf injury. If that wasn't enough, Jeremy Grant is currently in quarantine. Reports say Beal and Love will be replaced by Spurs forward Keldon Johnson and veteran big man JaVale McGee. Shout out to JaVale McGee.
Why you laughing?
Bro, JaVale McGee has the most iconic career of all time. He stumbled into...
Stumbled? That ain't right.
He fell. His biggest highlight is falling. So he stumbled into. He stumbled into 3 championships. And now he's about to potentially stumble into a medal. Anyway, I digress. Marcellus, is it panic time for Team USA?
No, it's not panic time for Team USA. One, we're in America, baby. You know us Americans, as you call us, cocky Americans, you said the other day. I don't think you meant that. I'm American and I'm cocky. It's just coincidence that I'm a cocky American. I think that America needs to understand one thing, because I think it gets lost in this house of mirrors we're about to walk through. That, oh my God, we don't have the star power that we're used to having and accustomed to having. Here's the secret. None of the rest of the world does either. Even if they're at their peak powers, it's less than us at our peak powers. So when we get a reduced version of our Olympic team, trust me, it's comparable or still better than most countries, right? Right. Okay, so less is probably still more than other countries. This is something that I'm looking at. We may have a lower principal, but a higher return, because these players, less talented, more invested in this experience. Have you ever been there, Acho? Oh, yeah, we both been there. Low man on the totem pole. Hey, I got to climb up. Boy, do you grab the tool belt out, and you make sure by all means necessary, you're going to show your best. That happens because, on the flip side, the ones who are more talented can work their way into it. The Kevin Durant's of the world, I get there when I get there, because you know I'm going to be there when it's necessary. So the curse of the gifted is to slow play it. Take your time. Let JaVale McGee get off that plane in Tokyo. Bounce, 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 and is going to act up in terms of investment because he's so appreciative of the opportunity. Magnify that by 12, 15 guys that are just coming together as a closed fist instead of the individual fingers that usually point out. So less talented sometimes mean more invested. Less is more in this equation.
Okay, your conversation is a little convoluted.
Why? Because you're confused?
Because it's contradictory.
How?
The argument in my mind for why Team USA should panic is because Team USA is probably less hungry than a lot of the other teams. And I base that logic based upon what you just said about JaVale McGee. The less talented usually are hungrier. So based on that, I'm like, that actually favors the less talented countries. You prefaced your take with most countries are still less talented.
Okay, I got you. I know where you went. Okay, I know where you went.
If JaVale McGee is less talented and thus more hungry, then I co-sign. I think other countries are more hungry. It's a huge panic issue, though, Sel, because, again, I think it goes back to just we're spoiled over here.
Who is?
We are.
Why you keep saying that?
Because I've seen several sides. And like even I went, you know this, I've said this before. I went to Nigeria with the medical mission team. We go with people from a place called Oak Cliff in Dallas, Texas. Oak Cliff, different parts of Oak Cliff, relatively the hood. We get there, bro. We get to Nigeria, and a dude who grew up in the hood looks at us and he says, this is like the projects on steroids. Like Nigeria, we in the village. We're not like one of these bougie mission trips. Like we in the cut of the village of Nigeria. Just grass, greenery, and like oil lamps are what's keeping the street lights. There are no street lights. There's no street. We're driving on dirt. So all that to say, because I've ventured, and I know you've ventured, you're a well-traveled man. Because I've ventured, I'm just like, Sel, we don't even care, I feel like, about the Olympics. If we did, our stars would be playing. I love LeBron James. But LeBron, like, he'd be playing. Instead, he has a phenomenal movie coming out. Steph would probably be playing. James Harden, you not healthy enough to play? Russ, you not healthy enough to play? Like, our best players would be playing. Instead, we're rolling out JaVale McGee. JaVale McGee, he's not even the best player in the city. And he's supposed to be one of the best players in the country? Now, no knock on JaVale McGee. He's a 3-time NBA champion. Kudos to him. One more rings than I'll ever think about having in a sports game. But I'm concerned because hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard.
Yeah. I know
I'm not saying that the U.S. team isn't going to work hard, but hard work is in perspective. It appears to me that other teams are at least hungrier because the Olympics mean more to them, Sal. Think about it. If this meant something to us, our best players would play.
No.
How no?
Okay, I'm going to give it to you. Please. I know where you got, well, I shouldn't say you got lost, that we detoured from each other. It's a relative experience. I'm going to start off by saying this. There's this old video of Tupac talking about being outside of like a door where inside everyone's feasting on food, like, big old turkey legs and stuff. And he said, you only knock at that door and ask for something to eat for so long before you kick the door down, right? Now, you only kick the door down because you know there's something in there. So in a relative experience, you're trying to compare America's talent loss to what another country's talent is. They're here. We're here. We don't have our stars. We're still here. So the ones who are still playing, hungrier, but as talented or more talented, will still benefit us. Like, name somebody on Serbia, the third best player. Good luck. Czechoslovakia, the best player.
Don't you think that's incredibly arrogant of you and the mentality to assume?
No, it's not arrogant. It's called gold medal, gold medal, gold medal. We had beaten Nigeria 2 times by 120 combined points. Why is that arrogant?
What we did in 2016 with LeBron James, with James Harden, with Kevin Durant, with probably Russell Westbrook, I don't remember the whole squad, that's different than what we're going to do now with JaVale McGee.
Oh, hold on. And Keldon Johnson. See, that's the thing. But Keldon Johnson is still better than 99% of the players around the world.
I don't think 99% of
95. Well, the point is, our worst is still comparable to their best.
Because we just caught 2 L's.
Yes,
we just caught
exhibition.
2. Bomb. We just took 2 of them L's.
Look, I would catch an L too if I had beat a team by a national team record of 83 points, and then the next time, they got better. Beat them by 36. I'm mailing it in. It's an exhibition.
We're
trying to figure out our life. It's still Nigeria. Hey, that's the same team. Muscle memory. Hey, Nigeria, they sorry. Look, it's like in high school when you played against that one high school.
Don't disrespect them.
I don't give a damn what y'all think about y'all selves. Last time we played y'all, we smoked y'all. Y'all gonna have to remind us that we ain't gonna smoke y'all again, or we gonna smoke y'all again.
Go ahead.
Okay, so here's my thing. When you talk about, I love your luxury point. Like, talking about being spoiled. We're spoiled in America. Here's the thing. I grew up spoiled. And it wasn't about surroundings. Like, people always mistake that. Like, because you have things, that means it's going to be synonymous with being spoiled. You don't have to have things to be spoiled. Spoiled is a mindset. Spoiled is a circumstances. Like, even with nothing, I was a mama's boy. Boy, you couldn't tell me how wealthy I wasn't growing up because I was spoiled. Still, I act spoiled. But the point is, I ain't have jack. And I think right now, these Americans, JaVale McGee, Keldon Johnson's, relatively speaking, don't have jack. To the rest of the world, they may seem spoiled.
Of course.
But to them, they are as hungry as you can get with a talent level that I think is comparable, if not still exceeding the rest of the world.
We're going to go places because unlike other shows, you and I care about the non-traditional American sports. Okay? Track and field, you have to fight and claw to get on the Olympic team. Fight, scratch, claw. It is a battle. There are no gimmies. In other countries, there's a spot that they can just give to somebody. Usain Bolt, he didn't have to run at the Jamaican trials if he didn't want to. They can just give him that spot. We don't play that in American track and field, not in USA track and field. You better go earn it. You could be the fastest person in the world, but if you're not the fastest that day, you ain't on the team. It's a hunger in track and field because the Olympics are the most important thing to our track and field athletes. But to our basketball players, it seems like the Olympics are a chore. not something to be cherished.
Okay.
It's like, I got to go play in the Olympics. LeBron looking at it like, oh, man, I already done that a couple times. Steph, like, yeah, I mean, for what? If you're making $200 million playing NBA basketball, it's just like, I don't feel like playing in the Olympics. Whereas other countries cherish the Olympics, for us, at least it appears to some to be a chore. Otherwise, we would have more superstars. So I'm worried because we're treating it like a chore, Sel. It's like, nah, man, the Olympics again? I don't want to do all that.
I got you right here. All right, I just saw it, and here it is. This is your problem. You're right. The creme de la creme doesn't want to go for various reasons. You said phenomenal movie by Space Jam. I don't know about that. Boss Baby killing it right now. Boss Baby might be the phenomenal movie. You need to see that, too. But look, let's talk about this. Here's my parallel. We still have Kevin Durant.
Yes, sir.
Who's the best player active in the NBA?
Giannis.
Whatever. Oh, God. You and this Giannis. Zach LaVine, beast. Damian Lillard, beast. Jason Tatum, beast. Okay, so let me give it to you in a way you can digest it.
Please.
This is like saying, of the richest Americans, 4 of the top 5 don't want to be a part of this conversation. Okay, so we're going to take Jeff Bezos off, and his $179 billion. Bill Gates got to go. Mark Zuckerberg, Warren Buffett, Larry Ellison. You know who we start off at? Steve Ballmer. Steve Ballmer on the team. Does he have dough? Is he great? Thank you. That's the same thing. But we're still rolling out greatness, and you're not respecting
No, because here's what you are overlooking. I am respecting it, but here's what you're overlooking.
Larry Page.
If the top 5 billionaires, if 3 of them came from other countries, now you couldn't just scoff at the list. Because the top 5 NBA players,
But they're not all on one team. That's their problem.
But the first team,
scattered.
That is true.
And we got them right
That
here.
is true. They are scattered, but 3 of the 5 all-NBA players are from other countries. 4 of our 6 finalists, in our top 6 MVP finalist voters, 4 of these 6 were not from America. Luka, the Jokic, Embiid. So it's not as
none of them playing together. They in trouble. Coming up is Chris Paul, an all-time top 5 point guard. Smash him, America. If his Suns win the finals, we'll answer that next on Speak For Yourself. Come on, dog. KD, Tatum. Chris Paul is just 2 wins away from his first NBA title. 11-time, I said 11-time All-Star, had a bad game 4, but he's still averaging 21 points and 8 assists per game during his first trip to the NBA Finals. Chris is back, but Acho, would a finals win make Chris Paul a top 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 point guard?
No, sir. And I love Chris Paul, but I cannot be a prisoner of the moment. Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about the list. Obviously, we got Magic at number 1. I'm going Steph at number 2. For the sake of honoring my elders, I'm putting a big O at number 3. I didn't see him play. I've seen highlights. I've looked up stats. I looked up stats. I looked up highlights. I'm putting a big O at number 3. At number 4, I'm putting Isaiah Thomas. At number 5, I'm putting Steve Nasty Nash, okay? 2-time NBA MVP. I'm putting respect on his name, giving respect where it is due. After Nash, I go Stockton, then I go Kidd, and then I go Paul. Chris Paul winning a NBA Finals title would up him past Stockton. It would put him past Kidd. Obviously, Kidd won a title at 37 years of age with the Mavericks, but a much lesser contributor than Chris Paul has been to the Suns team, because I watched those Mavericks. That's my squad, Dallas. So even if Chris Paul does win one, it doesn't somehow jump him over Steve Nash, a 2-time Finals MVP. Here's what I caution everybody to do in NCB. Please take this and run with it. Remember what people did and when they did it. If you go back and look at Steve Nash's numbers now, you might scoff at him. He won a Finals MVP with 18 points, Acho, and 12 assists. He won a regular season MVP with 18 points, Acho, and 12 assists. He won it with 18 points and 10 assists, Acho. That means nothing now. But remember what he did when he was doing it. Those 11 assists were 3 more assists per game than the next closest person on the list. That's back when being a point guard was kind of like Allen Iverson. You were scoring first. Steve Nash said, you know what? I'm going to go back to the traditional ways of making everybody else better. Leandro Barbosa became a dude. Sean Marion, the Matrix, was a dude. Amari Stoudemire, a dude. He had everybody around him better en route to becoming a 2 times NBA MVP. Chris Paul, many could argue, has never even been the best point guard in the league while he was in the league. I want to see Broussard's face, because I'm about to say some real reckless things.
Real reckless.
But Chris Paul comes into the league, Steve Nash was the best point guard, undisputably. Then there was a blip there where maybe it was Chris Paul, but Derrick Rose quickly became the best point guard. Then maybe there was another blip there, then it was Chris Paul, but Steph Curry quickly became the best point guard. You can't find a 2 to 3 year stretch where Chris Paul was the best at his position during his era. And for me, even if he wins a chip, he's not top 5. He's just knocking on the door of it.
Ooh. Wow. First of all, I already got him at 5th. All right. The one thing I agree with, Acho, that you said, your top 4 was on point. Magic, Steph, Oscar, Isaiah. I'm with you there. Right now, without the title, 5th is obviously arguable. And you brought up all these names of great players, so it's arguable. If he wins this championship, it's definitive. It is Chris Paul, period, the end. Now, look, if Chris Paul leads the Phoenix Suns to this championship, Acho, he will be only the 3rd small point guard in the history of the league, a 74-year history, I might add, who has led a team to a championship. 3rd, joining Isaiah Thomas and Steph Curry. That is it. And none of the guys you mentioned have ever done that. Steve Nash, let's start there. He never even got to a finals, let alone led a team to the finals championship. Now, Steve Nash, I like Nash. I got him behind Stockton and Kidd. Like, Nash to me isn't even in the discussion. And here's why. Because Steve Nash, as great as he was, and I voted for him twice for MVP when he won it, he was largely benefited from the Mike D'Antoni system. When Steve Nash was in Dallas, he was on the decline. His last year in Dallas, Mark Cuban was like, yeah, that money, you can have him. You know, we've seen the best of Steve Nash. He goes to Mike D'Antoni's system, which is any downhill point guard loves. James Harden put in historic numbers. Chris Duhon had his best years. Ray Felton had his best years. Jeremy Lin got 2 Sports Illustrated covers off the Mike D'Antoni system. So Steve Nash benefited from that. But Acho, look at who he played with. Dirk, still didn't get a ring. Amari Stoudemire, still didn't get a ring. Joe Johnson, Sean Marion, with Amari Stoudemire, the 4 of them still didn't get a ring. And wasn't that competitive in the conference finals when they got there. So Steve Nash is out. John Stockton, all-time leader in steals and assists. Great dude, great player. But check this out. You just a few segments ago went off on Chris Paul for having a 10-point game with 15 turnovers in the last 3 games. This is what John Stockton averaged over the last 2 games of the 97 finals against Michael Jordan. 13 points, 5 assists. All right? And then the year later, 1998, this is what John Stockton averaged over the last 5 games. 7 points and 9 assists on 40% shooting. If he were playing today, with all due respect, we would be roasting him. All right, so, no, it's Chris Paul. Jason Kidd Chris got him beat in points per game, assists per game, steals per game, led the league in steals 6 times. Kidd never did. Field goal percentage, 3-point percentage, and may lead a team to a championship, which Kidd never did. Come on, man. It's cut and dry.
It's no
CP3 right here.
He hit you with the old school, the OG. When the OG start doing this, you better duck. But save me some of them ribs, Chris Broussard, because I got them in my top 5 as well. Why? Because I'm going to be simple, and then I'm going to give it to you in story form. Here's simple. 5th in all-time assists, 5th in steals, 6th in scoring. Chris Paul, okay. And impact and win percentage. Doubled the win percentage in the Hornets when he got there. Look at the Clippers, improved drastically. Rockets, Thunder, Suns, etc. But let me give it to you like how Kobe Bryant once we were talking, and Kobe Bryant was filling out the slights. Everyone was saying Jordan, and then Kobe is the greatest replica of Jordan. And Kobe was like, yeah, they always try to take shots at my greatness. But remember, they always say Kobe and. And I was like, what you mean, Kobe? And he was like, look, when they talk about who's supposed to be the next Jordan, they always say Kobe, and it was supposed to be Jerry Stackhouse. And then it was supposed to be Harold Miner. Then it was supposed to be Vince Carter. Then it was supposed to be Grant Hill. And the point Kobe was making was like, it's funny, they always say Kobe and all of those other names change, but not my name. It stays in the conversation. So when we start talking about Magic, Steph, Big O, Isaiah, Nash, Stockton, etc., it's one name that just continues to stay in that conversation. It's our boy, top 5, CP3. Speaking of Chris Paul, tomorrow night's Game 5 of the Finals is featured on the free-to-play Fox Bet Super 6 app. Scan the QR code below, download the app, and answer 6 questions about Game 5 for your shot to win $1,000. Coming up, looks like Dame time is up in Portland. Oh, is it raining? But we'll tell you if the Blazers will actually trade him. That's next on Speak for Yourself, Portland.
Let's head to Portland. Trade speculation ramped up for Damian Lillard after the Blazers' playoff exit. Now, a report says Dame will request a trade in the coming days. A reported plan by ownership to sell the franchise could be playing a part in the 6-time All-Stars decision. So, Sel, will Dame Lillard actually be traded by the Blazers?
Will he actually be traded by them? I don't see it. I don't see it because there's 2 cards they could play. One is just the card that every franchise tries to play. Hey, you signed on the dotted line and we have your rights. 2019, he signs a 4-year extension. Let's do some simple math. 2019, 2023. Wait a minute. It's not 2023. So what you doing? But this is the card that I think they're really going to try to play. Because right now, how this story is even leaking out and coming out and unrolling is not necessarily in favor of Damian Lillard because he's always played the loyalty card. So they're like, oh, we didn't have this card. You gave us this card. So let's not have to counterpunch with the loyalty card. Now, I know Dame doesn't give a damn ultimately because he cares more about himself than he does about the persona and brand of just being loyal. So he's going to do what's best for him and his family. I respect that, and he should go. However, boy, this one is far from over in terms of how the public always comes and in the court of public opinion rules on these kind of decisions and transactions. I don't think they're going to let him go. We'll see if he fights his way out.
I think they will. I think they should. And I think the timing makes the most sense right now. You got a new head coach. Okay. Ownership in question. And it's like if you're ever going to make a huge change, now's when you make it. The kicker, though, Sel, is we've spent so much of our shows, so much of sports shows, arguing about, well, somebody gets traded, it's not good for this person or it's not good for that person. What if they're mutually beneficial breakups? I don't know why even Packers Aaron Rodgers, well, the Packers would be taking the L. Y'all drafted Jordan Love in the first round. Who's to say he won't mature into something and maybe bring y'all more fortune than Aaron Rodgers did? Talking Dame Lillard. Who's to say you couldn't trade Dame Lillard and actually end up better and he go on and have success? The only story for him I will give you is this. Remember the Lakers, trade Shaquille O'Neal. Shaquille O'Neal is maybe the 2nd greatest Laker of all time, 3rd, 4th. He's in the top 5 of the most storied franchise or 2nd most storied franchise in NBA history. Trade Shaquille O'Neal, you get Lamar Odom, you get Caron Butler, I believe, you get a 1st-round pick that's used on Jordan Farmar. Shaq instantly goes and wins a ring. Y'all remember this with the Heat and D. Wade. Well, Lamar Odom and Farmar both contributed to going to 3 finals 3 years later and winning 2 of them with Kobe Bryant. The Lakers won and Shaq won. So if you get rid of Dame, it's not to say the Blazers, y'all are going to lose, so you got to hold on to him so tight. There's a space where y'all both win.
Yeah, it's interesting right now, literally to my point, Dame Lillard is in front of reporters saying, quote, the report is not true. Lot is being said that is not coming from me. That's why I'm saying this one is going to be a hard-fought battle no matter how it plays out. Whether he stays or not, it sounds like him and the reporters are now going to have beef. If he goes, it sounds like the court of public opinion and the organization is going to have beef with him. I want to see him with the Lakers. I'm a Clipper fan, but boy, come to the Lakers, and they can offer up everything. Dennis Schroeder, Montrezl Harrell, Kyle Kuzma, 2 first-round picks, Hollywood Boulevard, half a Melrose, Kuzma shoe collection. Like, there's a lot of stuff you got to give up to get him. But, boy, L.A. would be on fire if Dame Dollar was in the building. Coming up, Giannis's big block helped tie up the series. But tell you if tomorrow's Game 5 is more important for his Bucs or the Suns. That's next on Speak for Yourself. Acho, Beverly Hills, and Jason. Giannis and Chris Middleton helped lead the Bucs to a huge Game 4 win earlier this week. Now the series shifts to Phoenix for tomorrow's pivotal Game 5. And remember, Both teams have won their home games in the series, Acho. Remember that. So is Game 5 more important for the Bucs or the Suns?
More important for the Suns. Suns lose Game 5, Suns lose the series, period. The Bucs are 9-1 at home in the playoffs. So if the Suns lose Game 5, if they go back to Milwaukee, it's a wrap. But still, more than that, within a game, any game, there's a game of runs. Somebody goes on a run. Another team goes on a run. Within a series, we've also seen it's a series of runs. Suns win the first 2, Bucs go out and win the next 2. The Suns have to, what we call in football, stop the bleeding.
Oh, my God. You been there before?
Bruh.
Acho!
Like, you got to stop the bleeding. If you're getting gashed by an offense, a 12-play, 8-minute drive, they've converted 5 third and shorts. Eventually, you got to stop the bleeding. And the Suns, at this point in time, they got blown out in Game 3. Then they lose Game 4. They got to stop the bleeding. Devin Booker tried to stop the bleeding. It didn't work. They still lost. So if the Suns don't stop the bleeding in Game 3, I don't see them stopping the bleeding the entirety of this series. Must win for Phoenix.
Oh, you got me. First of all, let me get through my PTSD of stopping the bleeding. Nothing worse in life, and I've been through some in my life, then it's a drive that starts on the 20, and you like, it's been 2 hours and they still got the ball. Come look at you like, bro, better you than me. Denver, when they went back-to-back, we had to play against them. Goodness. Terrell Davis, big old hands, just hammer, and then when you say, all right, we're going to stop the run, we're going to hammer, he go Elway. It was hell to pay. Okay, I'm with you on this. It's the Suns. The home court advantage, right now you still have that. So that's 2 games at home, potentially 1 game on the road if you lose this one. But you don't want to play around with this. I don't think it's as strict as you stated it, because in Game 5s of the NBA Finals, you know what the record is of the winning team? 21-8. A little more comparable than I assumed. So if you're the Suns, you play better at home. Why not handle business right now? You already gave 1 away, so you're not going to get that one back. So it's the Suns as well. You want to talk some more Denver?
Bro, yeah, let's go football.
Let's go. What do you got? 8 minutes left?
The kicker is, it'd be a 3rd and short, and you'd be ready to play the run. And then all of a sudden, they hit you with a play action, dump it off to a fullback or a running back. Here's the thing, though. You got to sub as a defensive end. Linebackers didn't get to sub.
I know, because they thought y'all were more athletic. I said they tired, too.
So that's what I hate in sports. Like, defensive linemen get to go out. Wide receivers get to go out. No shame. Running backs get to go out.
Yes.
But linebackers, cornerbacks, and safeties, and offensive linemen, but they don't have to run. We got to play every single snap.
Oh, my God. All right, since we don't hijack this one, come on, Suns, finish it up. At least go up 3-2, and then we can see how it plays out. Barry Sanders, greatest player I ever witnessed on the field. Barry Sanders, you won't find it on YouTube because we're pre-YouTube. You won't find it anywhere. He took a flat panel, like you said, we're going to stop the run. Barry in the backfield. Barry sitting there like this. He does a flare screen. We're like, oh, go get Barry. They throw the ball to Barry. Barry sees us, and it was Thomas Smith, fast corner, coming downhill. Barry caught the ball, backpedaled faster than he was coming straight at him. A 4-4 guy. Went, 3 yards. That was it.
That was it.
First down. I swear it was the most exciting, electric, athletic play I've ever seen in my life. He backpedaled faster than the guy was running top speed downhill. Sorry we hijacked that segment, but we had to get into it. Go Phoenix. You got to win Game 5. Keep this going. Coming up, we've seen a few 40-point performances in the finals already. It's Friday. We'll tell you who will drop 40 in Game 5 tomorrow. And we won't talk football. That's next on Speak for Yourself.
Tonight, the long-anticipated wait is over. The fans return to SmackDown on Fox. The superstars of WWE will finally get a chance to hear the roar of the crowd for the first time in a year and a half. Live from the Toyota Center in Houston, it's Friday Night SmackDown, 8 Eastern on Fox. Well, Devin Booker and Chris Middleton are coming off 40-point performances in Game 4 of the finals earlier this week. Giannis Antetokounmpo dropped over 40 points in Game 2 and 3. So, Sal,
Yes, sir?
who you got going off for 40 in Game 5?
I got Devin Booker going off for 40-plus in Game 5 at the crib. And this time they're going to hold on to the win, because this time CP3 going to hold on to the ball. Devin Booker's been averaging 27.5 points per game in these finals, balling out of control. Only 1 game where he scored less than 27 points. So 3 40-point games this postseason. Let's make it a 4th.
I'm going to go with Giannis, Sal. I like your take on Book. I'm going to go with Giannis because Suns going back home. Chris Paul has to score more. Devin Booker still wants to score because I think Devin Booker not only wants to win, he also wants that MVP award. Which leads me to believe the Suns will probably focus less on defense. And because they'll be focusing on scoring so much, I see it being a 120, 125 type of game. The reason Giannis got stopped in Game 4, they was focused on it. I think they'll take their eye off of it. Giannis goes off for 40.
Boy, you think you cool up here. You doing this 100, 120. Look, you know the series is not really 2-2. They gave them a game. Now they about to go get a game. It's going to be 3-2 Phoenix Suns, Devin Booker, 40+. That's it. Have a great weekend. Fox Bet Live.